digestive system is basically a 30-foot assembly line, and when it breaks down, over 4 million Americans reach for a little chemical assistance every single day. Today, we're breaking down exactly how constipation medications work, from the gentle fiber mimics to the aggressive nerve stimulators, and why choosing the wrong type could actually make things worse. By the end of this episode, you'll understand the 4 main classes of laxatives and how to match the right mechanism to your specific situation. Let me bring in someone who can walk us through the science behind these medications and help us understand what's actually happening in our bodies when we take them.
So here's the thing, constipation medications aren't just one-size-fits-all solutions. According to the research, they're categorized into 4 distinct classes, each with completely different mechanisms of action. You've got bulk-forming agents, osmotic laxatives, stimulant laxatives, and stool softeners.
4 different approaches to the same problem?
Exactly. And the choice depends on what's actually causing your constipation, how quickly you need relief, and your individual health situation. The page content shows that different patients need different types based on the cause of constipation, duration, age, and risk of dependency.
Okay, so let's start with what sounds like the gentlest option, bulk-forming laxatives. How do these actually work?
Bulk-forming laxatives are fascinating because they're basically mimicking what dietary fiber does naturally. Products like psyllium, which you know as metamucil or methylcellulose, absorb water in your intestines and swell up to form a larger, softer stool mass.
So they're literally making your stool bigger?
Right, and here's the clever part. The increased bulk stretches the intestinal wall, which triggers the natural muscle contractions that move things along. It's like giving your gut something substantial to grip and move along.
That's actually brilliant. So they work with your body's existing reflexes rather than overriding them?
Exactly. That's why they're generally considered the gentlest option. But there's a trade-off, speed. According to the research, they take 24 to 72 hours to provide relief, and you may not feel their full benefit for up to 72 hours.
So if you need quick relief, these aren't your best bet.
Right. And there's another crucial point. You absolutely must drink plenty of water with them. Without enough fluid, the extra bulk can actually make constipation worse or cause uncomfortable bloating.
Wait, they can make it worse?
Yeah, the page content specifically warns that without enough fluid, the fiber can actually compact in your intestines, leading to bloating or, in rare cases, even bowel obstruction.
Okay, so hydration is key. Now, what about osmotic laxatives? I've heard of things like Miralax.
Osmotic laxatives use basic chemistry to pull water into your colon. They contain substances your body can't easily absorb, like polyethylene glycol, which is the active ingredient in Miralax, or lactulose, or magnesium compounds.
So they're essentially creating a water magnet in your intestines?
That's a great way to put it. When these substances sit in your intestines, they create a concentration imbalance that draws water from surrounding tissues into the bowel through osmosis. The result is softer, more watery stool that's easier to pass.
And how quickly do these work compared to the bulk-forming ones?
This is where it gets interesting. The timing varies dramatically by formula. Saline osmotic laxatives like milk of magnesia can produce results in as little as 30 minutes. Polyethylene glycol typically takes 2 to 4 days. Lactulose falls somewhere in between at 24 to 72 hours.
30 minutes to 4 days? That's a huge range.
Right, which is why it's worth knowing exactly which type you're taking so you can set realistic expectations. And there's an important safety consideration. Osmotic laxatives containing magnesium or phosphate can cause metabolic disturbances, particularly if you have kidney problems.
So these aren't necessarily safe for everyone.
Exactly. Healthy kidneys clear excess magnesium efficiently, but impaired kidneys may not keep up, allowing mineral levels to climb too high.
Now, let's talk about the more aggressive option, stimulant laxatives. These sound intense.
They really are. Stimulant laxatives like bisacodyl and senna take a completely different approach. Rather than just adjusting water content, they directly activate the nerves in your colon wall.
They're literally stimulating your nerves?
Yes. Bisacodyl, for example, stimulates what's called the enteric nervous system. That's the network of nerves embedded in your gut, and triggers the production of prostaglandins, which are signaling molecules that ramp up intestinal contractions.
Prostaglandins, aren't those involved in inflammation too?
Exactly. They're the same signaling molecules involved in inflammation and pain, which actually explains why some people get cramping with stimulant laxatives. It's all connected.
That makes so much sense. So what about senna?
Senna works similarly, with its active compounds acting on the intestinal lining and nerve plexus to increase those wave-like muscle movements called peristalsis. According to the Mayo Clinic data, senna generally produces bowel movement in 6 to 12 hours.
So much faster than the bulk-forming ones.
Right, but here's what's really interesting. Stimulant laxatives don't just boost muscle contractions, they also change how the intestinal lining handles fluid. They cause the gut wall to secrete more water and electrolytes into the intestinal space.
So it's a double action, stronger contractions plus more fluid?
Exactly. This dual action is why stimulant laxatives tend to work faster and more powerfully than other types. But there's a downside: they risk dependency with overuse.
Dependency? Like your body stops working on its own?
The research indicates that long-term use can contribute to what they call a sluggish bowel and can cause electrolyte disturbances like low potassium levels and dehydration.
Okay, so these are more for short-term relief. What about stool softeners? How are they different?
Stool softeners are really interesting because they work through a completely different mechanism. They're made of compounds called surfactants that change the consistency of stools so more moisture can be drawn in.
Surfactants, like in soap?
Similar concept. The active ingredient is usually docusate sodium, and it increases the penetration of water and fat into stool, making it softer and easier to pass. But here's the key: they don't cause you to have a bowel movement.
Wait, they don't actually make you go?
Right. According to Cleveland Clinic, stool softeners allow you to go without straining, but they don't stimulate contractions. The page content notes they're not effective for active constipation, they're best for prevention.
So when would you use these?
They're especially helpful for people who should avoid straining, like after childbirth, after surgery, or if you have heart conditions, hemorrhoids, or recent medical procedures. The onset is 1 to 3 days.
This is fascinating. So we've got this whole spectrum from gentle and slow to aggressive and fast.
Exactly. And here's what's really important. The American Gastroenterological Association and American College of Gastroenterology actually have clinical guidelines for this. They made strong recommendations for polyethylene glycol, sodium picosulfate, and several prescription options.
So there's actual medical consensus on what works best?
Yes, and Harvard Health specifically recommends bulk-forming laxatives as the first choice for persistent constipation because they're the gentlest and safest option. They warn against what they call bombing the bowel with laxatives.
I love that phrase, bombing the bowel. It really captures the idea that more aggressive isn't always better.
Right, and the timing differences really reveal this fundamental trade-off in medicine: gentleness versus speed. Bulk forming takes 24 to 72 hours, while stimulants work in 6 to 12 hours.
So it really comes down to understanding what you need and when you need it.
Exactly, and there are some important safety considerations. The research shows that laxatives should generally not be used long-term unless under medical supervision, because they can cause electrolyte disturbances and dehydration.
What about the newer prescription options you mentioned?
The page content mentions newer agents like chloride channel activators and guanylate cyclase C agonists that offer specialized mechanisms for chronic or more severe cases. These include medications like linaclotide and flucanatide.
So there are options beyond the basic over-the-counter stuff.
Absolutely. And there are also prokinetics like prucalopride that help increase intestinal motility, and opioid receptor antagonists for people whose constipation is caused by pain medications.
This really shows how personalized medicine needs to be.
Exactly. The research emphasizes that the choice depends on the cause of constipation, duration, age, comorbidities, and risk of dependency. It's not one size fits all.
And I imagine lifestyle factors matter too?
Definitely. The page content consistently mentions that before using any laxative, lifestyle changes like drinking more fluid, exercising, and increasing vegetables and fiber should be tried first.
So when you step back from all this, what's the key takeaway for someone dealing with constipation?
Understanding that these medications work through completely different mechanisms gives you the power to choose the right approach. If you need gentle long-term relief, bulk-forming agents work with your body's natural reflexes.
And if you need faster relief?
Osmotic laxatives can work anywhere from 30 minutes to a few days, depending on the type, while stimulants give you that 6 to 12-hour window but come with dependency risks.
And stool softeners are really for specific situations where you need to avoid straining.
Exactly. The research shows they're particularly valuable after surgery, childbirth, or for people with heart conditions, but they're preventive, not curative.
This has been incredibly enlightening. The next time someone reaches for a laxative, they'll actually understand what they're putting in their body and how it works.
And hopefully they'll remember that over 4 million Americans deal with this regularly. It's incredibly common, and there are scientifically backed solutions that match different needs.
Thanks for joining us on Copilot Podcasts. Remember, your digestive system is that 30-foot assembly line we started with, and now you know exactly which tools can get it moving again, and more importantly, how to choose the right one for your situation.